Hello and welcome to another episode of CyberMasters with an incredible guest, Subrina Oliver.
Hey.
Hi, and
Hi.
what's your company? It's
Oh,
Ojai?
Hi Technologies,
Ojai
LLC.
Technologies. You want to look that guy up for a minute and
Y-
see the website?
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
it
take a look at
is.
that. So it's
Okay.
Ojai Technologies,
Uh,
and you are a diversification specialist. Am I saying that correct?
yes, for workforce development
For
for the STEM
for
fields.
the STEM fills. Okay.
OhiTech.com. Why don't I?
Take a look at that. Maybe it's going to come up on the all
Oh,
there.
yes, there it is.
Is that the one?
Wait, no, that says Zoom.
Okay.
Let's bring
Very
it up.
good. Very good. So Ojai Technologies is
Of course, it has.
a diversification company.
Yeah, diversification for the STEM industries,
Okay.
making sure that we are increasing the
And this is
talent
your
pool.
LinkedIn account. This is your
Yes,
LinkedIn account.
yeah, that's my
Excellent.
LinkedIn account, but
Okay.
I'm going to get to
So
the
this is
actual
interesting.
company.
I want to tell everybody about our January show. So Sabrina and I have talked for the last 2 years or so. We have a very interesting relationship we've grown. To me, the conversation she's having has helped me and helped me grow in many ways. Sabrina talks openly about the issues of our society
Yeah.
and without holding back, allows me to kind of learn about myself and what diversity is all about. And I really completely appreciate that, by the way. Let's pull up your website, right? So this is your website. You want to talk about your business?
Yeah, so my company is designed for the sole purposes of really increasing diversity in the STEM industries. STEM being science, technology, engineering, mathematics, those industries that largely depend on those disciplines in order to produce its services and most likely its products. But those are also the industries where the talents, the people that work for them, do not necessarily look like me, you
Okay,
know.
okay,
And
gotcha.
so,
Would
and
look like you in what way? What do you mean?
being black, being female,
Okay.
you
I thought it
know,
was just a, attractive woman with really nice hair, and
those
that's
things
not
too, those things too,
okay,
you
okay.
know. And so it really does matter because the thing about the STEM industries in, let's say, specifically Long Island, where you have 126 public school districts, even if you are a white male student, who may be a behavioral problem or maybe a C student, you may also be underrepresented in the STEM industries because you are not afforded the opportunities to be on the STEM education track for those higher type math classes, science classes, you know.
Interesting. Is that part of what's holding Long Island back from becoming the technology center it once was?
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons.
Wow,
That's
interesting.
that's one
I
of
mean, the
the
LEM was built here. Incredible technology was built in this
Absolutely.
region.
And still, even more technologies are, when you look at the future of offshore wind that's
Offshore
happening,
wind, very
and all
popular
the
now.
different types of technologies, that complement that industries and services, and how many people are not even aware of how they can actually fit in, or do they fit in, or do they even know about it, and do the schools know about it, and
Interesting.
what are the schools doing to prepare, future talents for that. So that's where my
So that's where
company
you come
does.
in. You're helping
Yeah.
organizations with finding the right people to developing and getting the maximum programs and everything they can out of hiring people correctly.
Yeah.
So you're really into making sure or helping Long Island find the right engineers to put Long Island back on the map the way it once was.
Um, Absolutely, but it's not just about finding. It's really about investing.
Okay.
Like what was that was said during the space generation ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country.
Wow,
You
that's
know,
lost,
right,
Sabrina.
right. But think about, ask not what we can do in terms of hiring, but you're always hiring and you're investing. So if you are a company in Nassau or Suffolk County or any other county and you're facing these high attrition rates, meaning that you're having problems hiring or keeping people in these high tech fields or these mid tech fields,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't even know what's needed by you as a company, you can't grow. You know,
Mm.
and then with everything else that goes on with
So
Long
you're
Island.
saying there's a lack of communication of the needs of these companies and the kind of workspace that's available, the
Absolutely,
workforce. There's a communication problem.
there
Interesting.
is, there is that.
Why? Why did this happen? Did technology move too quickly? What happened?
I think the technology does move too quickly. I haven't thought of it like that, but that is part of the problem. And I think that many of the businesses are busy trying to grow and
Mm.
not necessarily understanding that they, as fast as the technology is moving, that they also have to make some changes in their
Mm.
practices. They have to understand that there's a hiring cycle and how and who they need to grow and the types of skills. It's not even just the hard skills, it's even the soft skills. Are you connected as a business to the different school districts? You know, because most businesses want to get involved with hiring at the college level, and if it's at the K to 12 level, they usually want to get involved at the 12th grade, but it's too late.
Well, hold on a second. Let me ask you, what is the advantage of a successful or mature business on Long Island of bringing in a senior or an early college person? What is the advantage of bringing in that kind of an intern or help?
Well, one, they would have, they would advantage, the company would advantage itself by exposing that young person, that future prospect talent, to knowing their company, to knowing their brand, to knowing what it is that they do, and
Mm.
also cutting down their cost of training. Because if that prospect is interested, and let's say that they are going on to college, all right, so now that person knows that prospect knows that he or she has an opportunity here at this, uh, this company, that this will actually cut down costs in terms of training. And you have a real opportunity of having someone that already had the relationship and the support system here on Long Island, and you have an opportunity, to get that, and steer that prospective talent.
Wow, no, that's very interesting because you're saying that getting that person in early has an advantage on culture setting.
Yeah.
So the culture of the companies are the most critical part of keeping an assembled group together. So you're saying by getting that intern in early, you can get that culture setting in deeper and sooner?
Yeah, I'm actually
What does
saying
the intern do to the existing staff in
it,
terms of the culture?
but it doesn't even have to be intern, and so that's the other thing. We
Mm.
have to look at it very differently because it doesn't have to be 12th grade. Like,
Mm.
let's say we're in located right now, we're in Plainview. But if you're a business, a STEM company in the Plainview area
Yeah.
or 15-mile radius, and you do not have a relationship with the different school districts here,
Mm.
Plainview, Syosset,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
other school districts,
Mm-hmm.
Hicksville, they
Mm-hmm.
do not know who you are. That's your fault that you're not growing. If you as a company do not know what career and technology education programs they have that may complement what you're doing, or maybe that you can at least have your brand awareness, then that means that how does a young person and how does the educators know what it is that you need, and making those connections. So it's very important for businesses to get involved as early as possible. And there can be passive and active ways that they can do that. That doesn't necessarily cost much.
So you're saying that any technology company that's sort of mature in the region kind of must present themselves to the schools and make themselves available as a place to go. That's a huge missed opportunity in this region. I see it all the time,
Yeah,
Sabrina.
it really is a missed opportunity. And I definitely am saying that. I'm absolutely saying they should know what the schools are doing to put out their future talents, right? Because public schools were created to support industry. But if
Yes.
industry is not going to be involved with the public schools, they can't blame the public schools, for not availing their prospective talents if you're not involved.
But the parents feel they pay taxes, and it still should be that way because our taxes are feeding that engine. So there's a feeling that it should be as advanced as possible, you know?
But the engine is the education system. But I feel like the education system is doing what they believe that they're supposed to be doing. But the problem is that industry, for a number of reasons, have separated themselves from education, and they need to be part of the education system and see that they're part of the education system.
That's a huge deal. Industry and education are separated. I mean, can you imagine what the outcome of that is? What we're seeing today. This is the fallout you're seeing in technology. How does that get rejoined, Sabrina?
It's intention. First and foremost, it's intention. You're always hiring. You're always building up your brand awareness. You're always connecting to your community. There's a sense of
There's there
corporate responsibility,
there
right?
there's huge financial woes coming potentially in 2003. How can somebody consider this while they're dealing with financial woes in the upcoming year?
That's just part of being in business. You
Absolutely.
have to consider that. You cannot not consider it. I think one of the things and there are things that you can do. Remember Grumman's?
Yes.
I remember Grumman's used to do just little things. I remember they used to have a picnic at the end of the year, and they have their family, their
People get
employees
together.
bring their families there, and they have all types of things for young people. And young people didn't really know what Grumman's were doing, but they remember Grumman's because of those things that they were doing. It's just,
Absolutely.
and so I said those are small things in terms of brand awareness, but it makes you think, wow, I want to work there. Whether informed or not, this is something. Wow, this is a cool place. But many employees, I would say that their children don't really know what it is that they're doing. You
Well,
know,
it's a little scary. Hold on. You're telling me that the only thing my guys remember from my company over the last 22 years is the Christmas parties?
They may, they may, but I mean, but think about it. Think about what the pizza shops are doing in terms of, supporting a local soccer team or softball team. Those young people are connected to them, and then that's not the anchor. That's just you feeding that awareness and that business interest in that community. But there has to be obviously more to it than that. There is the connections with the schools, understanding what the schools do. I think that many businesses really do not understand that, especially here on Long Island, that each school is its own government.
So let me throw something at you. Are private schools different than public schools? What are you seeing in the candidates that you work forward? Are private schools different than the public schools? And the
Private
candidates that you're seeing?
private schools are absolutely different than public schools. What's different is what difference is the philosophy, right? The difference in the private schools is that you have not necessarily children, because children are the same. It is that in the private schools you have parents that are under the same philosophy and what they want and whatnot. The public schools, they have all of the variety of different philosophies, right? And some of the public schools here on Long Island, we have a lot of great public school systems here. But we also, out of the 126, we have a number of high needs schools that are in need of resources or underrepresented, and those unfortunately happen to be those school districts that have the predominant number of black and brown students.
Interesting. Interesting. Got it. Those are the statistics.
Yeah, yeah. And then in the STEM industries, you have
So you're saying that those kids are less funded in STEM over time?
absolutely not
Really?
only.
But what percentage? But what a drastic percentage?
Well, I know that when it comes to the number of females, as well as whether they are black or brown in the STEM industries, it's only about 5%.
Come on.
You know, and so I feel like
So you're saying that if you looked up the statistics of these school districts
yes.
and the amount of
Or just
STEM funding,
just the industry.
Just the
in terms of
industry.
STEM industries, not
but
even
STEM
just the
industry
education.
is primarily funding white predominant schools, possibly.
Well, not that they're funding white predominant schools. I'm saying in the industries, the percentage of black and brown students, and that's just one underrepresented, two underrepresented groups are nominal. You know, there are other underrepresented groups, such as like people with living with disabilities.
Sure.
It's very nominal. Yes, white males are high in numbers in terms of, representation in the STEM industries.
Got it.
Also, those of Southeast Asian and Asian are a higher number. And so when you look at the education system, it correlates. There's a correlation there.
Interesting.
And I think in terms of the underrepresentation, there are many school districts that are doing great things in terms of STEM, but not everybody is having the access. So even if you're in a school district that has access to STEM education, so that you're on an access to the career pathways, it's not equitable across Long Island. But let's get off of Long Island, because
What do you mean by equitable? Can you explain
everybody
that
doesn't
further?
have the same opportunities.
So equitable
a fair
means
opportunity.
equal fair opportunity.
Well, it's not equal, it's equitable. It's equitable because
so equal and equitable are,
are
really
not the same
completely
thing.
different things.
They're very different things.
So equal meaning that one person perceived like the other one. Equitable is the financial outcome.
No. So equitable, so if we're looking at two people having, they're in a race, and so where one person is starting in the race versus the other person, it may be based on their abilities, right? Or their exposure or whatever it is. They're not starting at the same place, and that's equitable, right? And so that's
So
what I mean by equitable.
equitability means starting at the same starting line as opposed to one having an advantage over the other.
Well, no, it's not the same starting line. There's the same opportunities to win, and their starting line may not be at the same place because someone has been advantaged, more so than the other,
How do you know, as a specialist in your industry with OHI, how people fit the best? How do you judge how to place people the best?
So I think that's a good question. What I do is I focus on the industry, right? And so depending on the industry,
niche.
Depending on the industry, for example, you have the manufacturing industries, you have the technology, IT industries, you have the upcoming offshore wind industry. So let's take the offshore wind industry. I'm very excited about that.
Yes.
There's so many different opportunities, and there's so many opportunities to get.
Well, you're talking about offshore wind farms that will create tremendous power and lower our costs.
And so we're on Long Island, and if you say offshore, what does that mean? What is that, on land
Offshore
or is that on water?
Oh, good point. That's a really good point.
Right. And so when you think about what populations of people that may not see offshore as an opportunity for them because
the way it's described.
no, because also that, because there's water involved, right? And so that they're swimming. Who do you see swimming? Who are your lifeguards looking like?
17-year-old white males.
Okay, right, for the most part,
Really?
right?
Really? Oh,
But do
wow.
you? So if you have a population of people historically for many different reasons that are not swimming,
Oh my gosh, I didn't even consider that point.
right?
Then why do you need a diversified lifeguard if those other people aren't swimming?
No, but just going back to the, well, there's that, but then there's also with the offshore wind, you have to, if we're going to avail these opportunities for everyone to be in this industry, we have to understand that there are groups of people that have these issues with swimming and with water, with offshore,
Oh my
that we
gosh,
have to
I didn't even
avail.
consider that.
Right.
That's
And
not even
so,
considered.
right. And so if you're not, and we know that as humans swimming just out of the womb, that is something that we can do. But there's a lot of history, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of other things that young people and moving on into adulthood are not swimming. So if they're not swimming, they're not thinking of these
So there's a
careers.
general fear of swimming?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And are you thinking about a career in offshore anything?
No.
Right. Are you right? So if we're going to open
So
up
what
this
is that
career,
going to do for Long Island?
well,
Nothing.
yeah, no, it does because what it does is that you recognize companies like mine. We recognize that here is this new industry, that is presenting itself on the Eastern Seaboard, not just Long Island, and opportunities not just for Long Island, but across the Eastern Seaboard here in the States and outside of the States that we need to avail. And if we have to, as we're availing that, we have to make people ready. We have to prepare them for that.
So you're saying that offshore wind farms could be a huge thing in the next 5 to 10 years, and
Absolutely.
there's tremendous opportunities for young people and technologists to get involved in that scene. And
Absolutely.
you know how to maneuver the right people into the right vendors.
Yes, and for
Wow,
example,
that's
also,
freaking
yeah,
huge.
also,
Oh
helping
man.
the schools to ready themselves and ready their young people for
How do
that.
you ready your young people for that kind of engineering,
Well,
technology?
well, it's absolutely that, so that's on the curriculum side, but there's also, if we just go back to the swimming side, they still need to be able to swim, if
Real
they're on.
regular swimming skills like that?
No, what we have to do is we need to make sure that everybody's swimming, right? Because swimming is like walking, it's like running. It's not just recreation. It's life saving, right?
Yes,
And it's
yes.
also a career opportunity. And let me just be clear: not all offshore wind opportunities are absolutely offshore.
Okay.
However, you make yourself more marketable if you're prepared for both the offshore and the
And the
onshore
onshore.
opportunities. So there's that part. There's the, understanding not just water safety, but being comfortable in water
Mm-hmm.
and the different opportunities that come with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then there is also, as you stated, in terms of engineering, not just engineering, there's even, you can be a mechanic and still involved with this
Sure.
industry.
Sure.
It's just helping. What my company does is help to avail that, for example, that this new industry is coming, and how do we get ready for it?
Well, I gotta tell you, it sounds extremely exciting to me. So you're saying the offshore wind industry could be a really major thing along our coast, and you believe you have got the contacts and the opportunities to possibly place a large number of people into that huge American acceleration.
Absolutely.
That's big. That's big,
Absolutely,
Sabrina.
and I'm excited, about it because it's a game changer. And the thing about the offshore wind industry for the U.S. period is that right now we're a third world, nation in terms of offshore wind, where the UK, Europe, they're doing it already, and they've been doing it, right? But it's such a game leveler, right? That it's an industry that we all are getting on at the same time if we're aware, and so that's what this awareness about my
Sabrina, I
company
can't
does.
agree with you more.
Yeah.
We were in Hungary and Germany in 2019 before COVID, And as far as the eye can see in Germany, windmills
Yes.
and all of that. And that's their primary power. Absolutely, very clean. Wow, you're seeing that American can be spruiled with this new energy, solar, all of this other wind power
Yeah.
stuff
Alternative
over
energy.
alternative energy, and it's massive job opportunities.
So many different opportunities, and it's not necessarily. I think that one of the problems that I see is convincing people that it doesn't have to be you're just getting an offshore wind industry just to be an offshore wind, but you whatever it is that you're doing now or what you think about doing, So for example, if you replace if you have a tire shop,
Yes.
you can see yourself in the offshore wind industry,
Oh,
but most do not see
yeah.
themselves, in that. And so it's that
When is
whole
this taking
paradigm
off?
shift.
When are we going to start seeing this evolution? And I assume that individuals who want to work in the field can contact you and you can be the matchmaker.
Yeah. It's
Is this happening right now?
Yeah, so there are different phases for the offshore wind project. The phase that I'm most focused on is on the maintenance side after it's all built, in
Okay.
terms of the maintaining and the working and whatnot, not necessarily the building side of it.
So
But
where on
there's
your website, that's
opportunity.
workforce development,
Yeah,
if
so
you will? That's called
yes.
workforce
Yeah, so
development?
I'm workforce development. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so confused by it.
It's all good. It's, I
Yeah.
think you're on
So
your
so the
Facebook page.
workforce. Why isn't it
I think
coming
you're
up?
on your Facebook page,
Am
not
I?
on your
Oh,
website.
you know what it is? I'm on the LinkedIn
That's
page.
all right. I can get you on your
That's what.
website. Hang on one second, and there we
Yeah.
go. Oh,
Yeah.
high
So why
tech.
didn't
There
it
you
come
go.
up? That's hi.
We'll check it out.
We're
But
trying to we're trying to figure it out
we're
here,
trying to
guys.
figure, working on it.
Because
But
why is
that's
it not
very
coming up?
interesting that you're saying that you can find
It's not coming up.
individuals. I'll pull it up. Here we go.
Dash tech.
www.o-hightech.com. Excellent. There we go.
How did you do that? Oh my God.
No problem. That's why I'm a techie
There I am.
guy.
There I am.
That is, and workforce development
Yes.
is the link there.
Yeah.
And you believe you can find jobs for people in this new development down
Yeah,
here.
so it's not me finding jobs. It's not finding jobs. The jobs are there. For example, with the
Well, these projects aren't taking off yet.
it is well, but but that's on the offshore wind. But you take like the manufacturing industry. There are 12 different sectors of manufacturing here on Long Island. About 1,000 jobs go unfulfilled each year in manufacturing. It's awareness. It's exposure. It's letting them know the different types of opportunities and the directions that they can go and take their propensity in terms of their interests. Even if someone, I had a young man who said that he was actually going to college for mechanical engineering, but he was just doing it because somebody else said it. And so I
Okay,
said,
not on his own accord.
yeah. And that happens a lot with young people. And
Who should contact you? College individuals who have this knack? Who should
So
who
it would
contacts you?
it would be anybody responsible for labor outcomes, like say of industry associations, labor departments. It would be definitely be colleges. I tend to not have businesses directly. Businesses tend to not contact me directly. They usually do it through their
Workforce,
association and stuff like that. But I work in terms of the workforce development, I work very closely with the workforce development is just business development specific to the labor side of the employer and employment.
And you work for government and private sector. You have
Yes.
government contracts,
Yes.
you have private
Yes.
contracts where you are this labor liaison.
Yes. And
How do you work with
labor,
HR?
labor liaison as well as educational specialists.
How do you work with HR, internal HR?
So it depends on the different contracts. So one contract may be that I am working with that association, if you would. They're there are multiple HR, there are member HR departments to help them to connect to schools.
Okay.
So it's
It's the
very
connection to the school and the
yes
graduates coming
connect,
out.
but not just connection, but not just the graduates. It can be all the way from elementary all the way up through college.
Wow.
So it is.
Have you placed an elementary school student yet? I mean, that sounds a
Well,
little crazy,
so it's
no?
but yeah, but I think that's
We're
the
like
problem.
Doogie Howser, you
Yeah,
know?
so it's not placement. It is visibility. It is visibility of who that organization is and how that organization is staying connected with that school. So think about it. If let's say you are a technology company and you go to let's say what the kids call it, when you come into the school that day, show and tell, and the parents come and you tell about the great things that you're doing. Let's say you're a biotechnology company, and let's say, for example, you might be making, maybe some fins for animals, or
Yeah.
some arms or whatever. That's so way cool for young kids, and you continue to establish that relationship with that school district, and those young people, maybe a few of them, still seeing you. Now they're asking their schools in terms of, okay, so what can I do to learn a little bit more about what they're doing? And then I'm having these opportunities. And so
Interesting.
that's what I do. I work with businesses so that to help them in different types of ways to invest
Interesting.
in their employees, because you have to home grow your employees.
How are other countries overcoming this perceivably better than America? You are the saving grace for American kids getting into technology. Why is America falling behind on that compared to other countries?
Yeah, because other countries they're just doing it better. They believe in apprenticeships. They believe in an apprentice model. In this country, we believe in higher education as the one model. And we all buy into it. It's not we can't blame higher ed. It's everyone. It's the parents that want to say my child is going to such and such college and this and that. And nothing's wrong with that, because there's great opportunity there. But there's other opportunities also.
It leaves a lot of people behind too.
It does. And I really feel like I feel that at the end of K to 12, that what a school system is supposed to do, whether they're public or private, is set that young person up for success, post secondary, and where that person wants to travel in terms to achieve that success, whether that path is directly into college, enlistment, directly to work, or entrepreneurship, or to a trade school. They should be prepared to be successful. But what we do here, we have our blinders on and we want to steer young people directly into college. And we really have to ask ourselves in terms of the ROI, the return on
Has
investment.
that created segregation? Has that factor created
Oh,
segregation?
absolutely. Absolutely. When it comes to STEM, the number of the underrepresented populations in STEM programs are already minuscule, right? But then also once they get into the college, it dwindles in terms of those who graduate out. They don't see themselves in who they're educators. Especially when you talk about Black students, as well as I would say even Latino students, the chances of them seeing themselves in their own educators, are just slim. And then when you get to the high schools,
seeing themselves in their educators, meaning that they would be that educator one day. That's what you mean.
seeing an educator that looks like you.
Seeing an educator that looks like you.
Yeah.
And when they see an educator that doesn't look like them, it's immediately some kind of disconnection.
Well, there's a connection when you do get to see that.
The connection's missing when you don't get to see
Right,
that.
exactly. But also, I would tell you that the connection is also missing for those, say, students who are not say the white student who do not get to see the black or the Hispanic.
Works the other way.
It works the other way too. So they don't even expect to see us because that's not been their history.
Oh my gosh, I didn't
know?
even recognize that.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's it's important.
What is that person doing in this class?
Representation is important for everybody, right? Because the more representation that we have, the more problems that we can solve. Because the way you may look at a problem that may be presented, Ed,
Completely
the way
different.
it may be different. I see the same problem, but I'm looking at it bringing my whole self, and I may see the problem very differently, right? And you and I, we have these conversations, and
Yeah, I will say
different.
you are an extremely unique and very special individual. You're willing to open up these conversations, which to me feels is how you solve all these problems, is to talk about it, put it on the table, and find how these can be resolved over time. It's incredible. Sometimes relationships can be fixed over a 10-minute conversation of things that people didn't even realize they were bothering each other for.
That is
Which
true.
is why I ask you the questions that I ask you, I truly seek that answer, and you're open to talk about it.
Well, I think, and I've said this in so many other different spaces, diversity, equity, inclusion is absolutely necessary.
Absolutely.
It's necessary for the bottom line, is because it helps a company to grow. It helps a company to grow because it helps a company solve more problems, because it has more different perspectives to solve more problems.
Amen.
Diversity is
Completely
not
agree.
about the employees. Diversity is about the bottom line. It is what's best. It is best even in biodiversity for the ecosystem. That is what we have to understand. And then when
So
it
you're
comes,
saying it's not about being a particular race or gender or sexual attrition. It's about
it is
it's
and it
about seeing each other's openness and just letting it go.
It is and it isn't.
Okay.
It is about all of those things.
Okay.
You can you it's also about, let's say for example, you have a company that and it's unfortunate, but there are companies where you have all white spaces. And there is an assumption that in these all white spaces that everybody thinks the same, and we know that that is not true. And so diversity is giving opportunities to make sure that we know that everybody is not the same. But diversity is really about, embracing people. And if you have, just from the business perspective, especially when you have customers who are diverse, it is a responsibility of the company to be able to meet their customers, right? And their customer needs. How do you meet your customer needs? How you, as a white male, how are you able to, to speak for the Sabrinas of the world? You may get some things right, right? But that doesn't mean that you can really speak to my needs. And unfortunately, that is not addressed enough. So it's not just about gender. It's not just about race. It's about all those things that you stated. It's about different habits of minds. It's about different expertise, and it's about being comfortable knowing that we're different. It's not about tolerance. It's about embracing. And then once you are embracing, you're doing things to make sure that you're leveling the playing field. And that's what equity is inside the workforce and inside the workplace. But inclusivity.
Can you explain the equity situation again? What do you mean by equity?
Tell me what you're confused about with equity, because there's a picture that comes to mind.
The word equity has a
Can I bring it up?
Yes, please. The word equity, you could just go to Google and 1 second. There we go.
What is this, a Chromebook?
Yeah, it's an iPad. There you go.
Why is your iPad different from my iPad?
I'm not sure. Maybe
Okay.
it's connected to the screen.
There is this great picture of equity,
Yes.
and I want to do image. Yep, it's this one. The
Let's
equity.
see.
Wait a minute. Equity fence. Hold on.
Okay. It's interesting because the diversification of the words is very interesting. I guess equity sort of means
This is equity.
build up of financial
This
energy.
is equity.
This is equity. Changing the image of
This
equity.
is equity.
Equality and equity.
This is equity right here on the right hand side.
Okay.
You have a grown man who's tall, who can see over the fence. You have someone, a young person that just, is not as tall as a grown man, but he needs one. But in order for this young person to see over the fence, he needs two things. This is equality. Over here on the left, equality doesn't help everyone. If I give everybody what you think is the same opportunity, for example, if you have more than one child, sometimes us as parents, I gave this child, I bought this child, a pair of sneakers, a pair of cleats, and I need to do the same for the other child, but the other child doesn't play soccer. So why am I buying this child a pair of cleats, or because I just bought this child, or it doesn't need?
Well,
It's meeting someone where they are. So that they have same opportunities.
This
right?
graphic is very important.
That's what it is. That's equity.
So let me tell you what my impression is of this is, right? So give everybody an equal playing ground.
Yes.
It's up to
Not
you.
equal, a fair.
It's up to you to find your way up. But in this graphic, the natural progression of human sizes, right, doesn't matter inequality. You need these add-ons to really create equity, because nature has made those people shorter and different. So equality doesn't mean giving everybody the same tools. Equity means giving everybody the tools so they can compete, as opposed to giving the same tools to everybody to compete the same way. Am I right about that?
Well, giving everyone the same tools does not allow them to compete in the same way, because you see that all three of them cannot see. Equity is meeting people where they are and what they need in order for them to have a fair chance to compete. In this case,
in order to have a fair chance to compete.
Fair chance, right. Or fair chance to thrive in a workplace. And so, these are things
that is majorly misunderstood.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is a major misunderstanding in the world. I believe, unfortunately, or whatever, that general humanity sees equality as the most even way of living, I think.
But it's not.
It's not, clearly.
It is not.
Because by nature, the guy in the purple shirt is just born shorter. He can't prevent that from changing. So he needs tools to be equal, to have equity to everyone else. All right, I'll buy that.
But also what you did is fill in some things that aren't there. You said the guy. I see an adult, I see a young adolescent, and I see a child. A very young child. And so we have to be aware of our own, what we see, our biases.
Oh wow. You have to be aware of your own biases when you look at
Right.
that kind of thing.
Right.
Well, I see 3 adults just having height differences.
They're definitely not adults.
Okay. Well, I don't know. They could be adults.
Well, you look at the way they're dressed, one could have easily assumed they're not adults.
I don't know. I think that guy could just be a really short guy with a purple shirt. I don't know. It doesn't look like a kid technically.
No.
Not necessarily. I don't know.
Okay.
That's interesting. I feel like I'm looking at that graphic as 3 different size adults.
Okay. I don't see the adults at all, but
You see 3 kids.
I see one adult, I see one adolescent, and then one child.
Interesting. Okay.
And they all have different needs to see the same game.
But the child views the game differently than the adult.
We're not talking about how they're receiving the game. We're talking about them having opportunities to see the game.
That's a big deal, the opportunity to participate.
Well, that's all we're talking about is opportunities.
Opportunity to participate.
Yeah, opportunities to thrive, yes.
So it's possible over America building over years, opportunity has been different for different folks.
By design, yes.
By design. Interesting. So much like this graphic, that young person perceivably should have the same equity or ability to watch the show as everyone else there.
Yes, in the workplace, absolutely. Because especially in the STEM fields where it is already hard enough, to access, and it's not just a Long Island thing, but to access local talent with the skills that are needed versus importing them over. We can't just keep importing, hiring from other nations to fill out, our labor needs. We have to, we have to home grow our own. And so equity does matter and inclusivity does matter. You can't keep saying that you want to have this company and you know what you're dealing with in terms of, say, the education system. And it's not just a Long Island thing. Like I said, Long Island does have a lot of great schools, but across the board around in this nation, STEM is a problem where not enough of us are prepared.
Do you think that our viewers today learned something new from what you're describing?
Well, I hope so. I hope that, first and foremost, that they understand, at least they are curious about STEM education. They're curious about STEM industries and what these high paying industries in this career path, can afford them. And again, I don't want anybody going into STEM just because I say so, but I just know that if you're STEM educated, you're even a better
Better.
critical thinker, even if you're in a non STEM field. You
So
know,
STEM being everything around science and math and projects and robotics,
it's the
that it's
way that it's
available.
the it's not just those things. It's how you're educated. Is how you think to problem solve. If I were to say to someone, no matter what the problem that you're having, whether it's to bake a cake or to send someone to the moon, there are only seven basic resources. So STEM education will teach you that there are only seven basic resources, no matter what: people, information, materials, tools, energy, capital, and time. Yeah, you have to identify who those are, but it gives you a confidence and an approach to solving the problem and also to diagnose a problem, and to follow a problem, or better yet, to ask the right questions about a problem.
What motivates you to have these powerful conversations?
That here I am as a 53-year-old woman, or as the kids would say, 53 and a half, you know, that I'm still, I walk into rooms and I'm the only one that looks like me. And I just don't understand why it's just still not more of us,
Wow.
because there's such great opportunity, for
Wow.
us. And when I think about how many more problems that we can solve, for example, with AI, artificial intelligence, it is inherently biased because not enough diversity is available, to inform the machine thinking and the machine
Oh
learning
man, I
and the
didn't even
machine
think of that.
programming.
There's
It's
a lack
inherent,
of diversity in AI.
right, right. So inherently it's going to be biased because, again, you,
That's
Ed,
messed up.
can't really speak for the needs for me.
Totally.
Also
Oh
in
wow.
how they program to see certain things, there's just
AI
some,
shouldn't live until diversification is advanced. Oh my God, I didn't
yeah,
realize that. Do you
yeah,
realize the problems we're going to create?
yes. And not meaning to,
Not
right?
even meaning
Not
to.
not meaning to. But if it's just all white males, coming up with all of these solutions and ideas, yeah, wrong.
Yeah, I hear you.
Wrong for the masses.
Wrong for the
They may get
masses.
some things right, right?
We'll have a
Absolutely.
very
Yeah.
one way of thinking.
You don't even know what you don't know,
Oh man.
you know?
Well, I know we probably tend to want to, create concentration camps and crazy stuff. So
Not always.
leave it to
It's just it's
yourself.
just it's just not enough. It's just not enough of us there, to inform the industry and the outcome and the outputs of the industry. There need to be more of us, and we have to really, just as parents, as schools and industry, we all have to band together to say that we have to make sure that we're opening up equity for everyone, in terms of opportunities to be in these STEM industries, and we also have to recognize that for the future generation, say 2030, we don't really know what those careers are.
Looking like at this
Yeah, we
point.
don't know what they are. We know what the soft skills are, and we can help with that. And we can, every time,
Right.
as a parent, what I would recommend is that when a parent has, one, two, three, four, I don't care how many children you have, whatever they're interested in, help that young person, really look at that and see who those influencers are, what type of careers those are. A child says that he or she wants to be a fire person. Don't just look at the actual job, but look at what they're wearing, look at the equipment that they're using. Have them think about, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about, changing this or enhancing that, those engineering opportunities and mindset, it's just a different way
A
to
true
examine.
introspective conversation.
Yes.
And letting go of the surface stuff.
Yes, and stop telling young people to be a certain things.
Wow,
One of
be
my
open.
one of my pet peeves, and it happens all the time, is when a young person is speaking to me. Sometimes they're trying to impress me, right? And they'll say, "Well, I'm going to be an engineer, Dr. Oliver. I'm going to be a nurse." Well, what type of engineer, sweetheart? I want to know what type of engineer. I
Be
want to know that.
specific.
Yeah, I want to know that you thought about. Oh, you don't know. Okay. What type of nurse? Oh, you don't know. I want to know specifically. I want to know what you think about that. I want to know, where. What does your day look like? Follow that path, and that you can do that for free.
Look, Sabrina, you obviously are able to go deep down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it is a
A
rabbit hole.
lot of people go 2-3 steps into detail and they fall apart. How can you tell these young folks the necessity of being able to follow a subject for an hour and continue to drill it and talk about it, and how important that is in the world?
It's absolutely everything. First and foremost, for young people, they have to understand that they're in their career. I think that there is school and then there's career, but your academics is your career, it's your prep. You're in your career. So you need to follow it. You need to follow what it is that you're naturally interested in. But unfortunately, the schools and just society really have young people to, not really focus on their passions because it might be too hooky or hokey or whatnot, right? But they need to follow if you're interested in music, you're interested in art, you're interested in dance, you're interested in talking, you're interested
Go
in your
for it.
phones. Like this is another pet peeve. I have so many adults telling me that their children are on phones that they didn't buy. Parents bought them. All right, so what I'm hearing is that you're upset that this young person is fascinated on the consumer side. Have them think about the software, what they like, what they don't like. Have them follow, if they're Android code or iOS code, have them follow that, and so I would, I just really think that it is not so much so that you're following a particular path, but you're following what naturally brings you peace as a young person. If you like drawing, if you like colors, there is so much science, so much technology in colors. I remember once upon a time that I grew up and there was no such thing as neon colors.
No kind of
There were no neon colors, but there are so many different things that you can do. I just think that parents could help foster that curiosity and not tell young people to do something else because they think that they're playing. If that play brings them peace, I think that we will be a better society if more of us are doing what we love.
Non-technical parents have no way to bolster that. They're so far behind the technology where their 7-year-old son or daughter is teaching them how to use an iPhone.
Yeah.
There's some level of unrealistic to that because the young kids know the tech better than the old folks. You gotta admit to that,
They know the tech to the extent that they use it, because a lot of the young folk don't even know the anatomy of an email, right? So they know it to the extent that they're interested. They don't really know tech, but the good thing is that the parents don't have to know. There are so many parents. Look, Ben Carson. I know I brought up Ben
Yes.
Carson, but I'm talking about Ben Carson before Trump. But Ben Carson, he'll tell you how he was raised by a mother that couldn't read, right? His mother couldn't read, so all you need to do is, what is your child interested in? Find the influencer. Find
Oh,
the group.
interesting.
What is
Interesting.
it? Just help them really explore what they're interested in. And how can that be a career? You can just color plus career. If that's what they're in, art plus career, art plus science, art plus tech, art plus engineer, art plus math. You can just Google those things.
Interesting. Interesting.
Art plus business.
What happened to Ben Carson? He seemed the
Oh
most
God, I'm not gonna do Ben
intelligent
Carson. Oh no.
to all of them.
He's been
No?
traumatized, and that's all I got to
Really?
say about
Ah,
that.
man, he seemed really connected with science and technology. Seemed really interesting,
Yes, until he allowed himself to go to,
Too
uh,
far right side.
yeah, well, HUD housing and all that other
Oh,
stuff. Like,
gotcha, gotcha.
stay in your lane, Ben. Stay in your lane.
Gotcha, gotcha.
You know.
As a scientist, he was brilliant, and I
Oh,
loved what he said.
absolutely,
You know.
absolutely, absolutely. I feel like Ed is trying to get me to go down the Ben Carson lane, but no,
No, not at all. I
Ben should have
thought.
stayed in his lane. But
Gotcha. Interesting. Interesting. You should have stayed in the scientific lane there.
stay in his lane. No one doubted him. No one. Who doubted him?
Wow, and he messed his own campaign up ultimately by trying to seem bigger than he was.
Why was he campaigning?
Well, to
Because he got out of
'cause-
his lane.
Oh
Campaign in
man,
your
I
lane.
didn't think about
Stay in your
that.
lane, Ben.
Stay in your lane,
Stay in
Ben.
your lane. Surgeon General? Yes. Why didn't he? Why didn't he campaign for
Yes,
that?
yes, yes.
He got out of his lane.
Interesting. I didn't think about that. Interesting. Where is equity and equality today, and where is it going in the next 2, 3 years? And is it different state by state, and a region in America by region in America?
Well, of course, I feel that it is different state by state, right? However, um, ultimately, I hear there are a lot of conversations, you know. Um, I know being black is trending right now. A lot of businesses and whatnot are talking about what they want to do, what they can do, but a lot of it is superficial.
You mean diversification efforts are superficial?
Right, right. In terms of not for everyone, right? But not
In
really,
majority.
not, I don't know the majority, but I just don't really see a lot of realness behind the efforts, right? And consistency and constancy, especially in the school systems, right? I just think more,
Especially in education compared to other industries.
well, education, also in medicine.
In medicine. Interesting.
There's so technologies.
Technology.
There's so many. So as a country, I don't know that we have truly prioritized it. I know that there are conversations. I know that there's some funding. But again, it might just be what's trending. I
Interesting.
don't know if it's truly a commitment,
Gotcha.
you
It
know?
may be just something people are saying for now to be
Right.
trendy, and it'll go back to the same thing it was before.
I hope it does not go back, because even a little bit of progress is progress.
Has the pandemic helped the cause?
Not at all. And unless we're saying that the pandemic has really shined a light on on the cause. So I would say
Interesting.
yes.
How did it shine a light on the cause?
You know, especially when you're looking at those who are underserved, it shined a light on those most vulnerable of communities that we already knew, but it exposed that lack of preparedness. How some you know communities were able to adapt
Adapt and get used to the new way.
earlier, you know, and then there were some students, and I'm just thinking about students right now, that still weren't adequately and appropriately prepared or educated, and I'm not just talking about K to 12.
So I have a big question for you. What other country other than the United States is having these conversations?
Well, I mean, when you say having these conversations,
Or looking for diversification to be
well,
more front runner?
so I think we would have to we as US would have to compare ourselves to other industrialized nations.
France, Germany,
Yeah,
that kind of
I
thing?
think we're behind. I think others are more advanced, than we are. However, I will stand by saying that I think our nation is one of the most innovative. We just have yet to truly prioritize. It's not that we can't, it's just that we won't.
Very interesting, because is there correlation between technology advancement, which America is falling behind on in terms of government and stuff, as well as the diversification acceptance? Is there just a really old thinking that's plaguing this country?
Yeah, I think so.
You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so. And I also think there's just a lot of misunderstanding, especially when you consider when people think about manufacturing, even, and there's advanced manufacturing and the floors and the space, and, it's just different. But we still have this whole, this paradigm that it is a dirty pre-OSHA factory. It's really exposure. It's really exposure. It's also when it comes to even some of our best school systems in terms of who they're educating to go out into society, and do they think of manufacturing per se?
Do
And
they
that's
even think of manufacturing?
yeah, and then also we're not really training up young people to think about industries. We're having them to think about jobs as if this is like the early 70s, 60s, where someone is going to go into a job and stay there. No, they're thinking
Interesting.
about industries and all the opportunities, the verticals, the diagonal opportunities and whatnot, to progress, within an industry. And also, we also, the systems, the way that they're designed are not really looking at young people in terms of, like, so they're telling them choose a job, but they're also not telling them where. One of the worst things I see all the
So
time.
how does what you're saying work into this equity formula? How does what you're saying work into this equity formula?
So yeah, so I was thinking in terms of like IT. I
Okay.
know of some young people who were just recently trained in IT, and then the adults that were supporting them and helping them, they have these certifications now, and now they want to help them to go to IT, but they're just looking for any job.
Not
But
creating equity.
right, and but not even thinking about what is it that they learn, where is it that they want to work. Do you want to do IT in a hospital, the health industries? Do you want to do it in entertainment? IT is everywhere. IT is across every industry, and it's just not that understanding. It's not also the understanding of what it is, of where you want to spend your time. So even that, I think we adults, have to get out of the way if we're not going to educate ourselves to help advance these young people because we don't understand the workforce that they are going into. And I
But how
think
do you
that is
stand out
not,
of the way? It's impossible to stand out of the way. It's your money, it's your environment, if you will.
but you have to if you're not going to educate yourself. If you're not going to educate yourself, you have this problem all the time. I see this like when someone says that they're interested in cybersecurity, and your thing is they don't even know computers. They don't even
Exactly.
know how to take apart a computer.
Exactly.
How
Exactly.
many programs where young people are learning about cybersecurity and don't even get to take apart a
But
computer?
isn't that a failure of an American education system?
Is that one could say that's a failure of industry. If you know that this keeps happening within the education system, you as an industry person
Have to make those changes.
or have to say something to the education system because it keeps happening. But you're going to keep trusting the education system to know what's best for you.
Good point. Good
So you
point.
have to
And we
be
do,
involved.
and we are trusting it as a whole.
And why?
And this is where we are.
Why? Because
It's easier.
right,
It's just easier.
right,
It's an easy way out.
right. It is a way out.
And then we're hurting all our kids doing that.
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not fair to the young person because they are the innocents. You know, why would they know that they're not being educated properly?
Which justifies this graphic. Take that young person or that person who's not as tall as the rest and give them what they need so they can have an equal experience.
Or
That's why equity is better than equality.
always equity is always better. But also take on the equity side that this one person might be in gold, in terms of the IT scenario that we talked about in terms of cyber. Their parents may know about cybersecurity, and that person's prepared. That person's ready. That person knows. This other person may have been educated in a nearby school district, doesn't have parents in cybersecurity, but they have, they have
Some
some good
skills.
programs, in
Got
the
it.
school.
Got it.
But then you have this other one have not a clue, just so behind.
We got to give them the extra box to be equal.
Industry has to be involved.
Oh, man. This is making a lot more sense to me. At first, my impression was that this box said, give the lower end person who's not willing to try extra boxes so they can be equal. But you're looking at a natural humanity, and some people just naturally need that boost. That's what creates equity. That's how we can become equal. Equality, by giving everybody the same thing, is not equality at all. It's not equality at all.
This equality is just not fair. But I want to go back to your scenario and the biases,
Yes,
right?
the biases.
That what you put on this situation here in terms of those three individuals, it is not them doing anything. They're just existing. They just are who they are in the circumstances that they did not choose or they were not born
They
into.
did not born into the shorter
privileges, right?
sizes and the taller sizes.
Right.
They're natural. The guy in the purple shorts, natural shorter, whether being a child or an adult. And
Right.
equity means giving him what he needs to be equal, because nature didn't give him the tallness or at that particular time the same ability as the guy in the blue shirt.
That's one way to think about it. But I think the approach
This is important.
I think the approach as you're working it out, and I hear you trying to work it out.
Yes,
But
yes.
I think what you should know is that the approach can be seen that you can take yourself out of it. You're not doing them a favor. If you are, you're doing yourself a favor.
Not doing them a favor.
You're doing yourself a favor, in terms of providing the opportunities, because that person that on with the purple shirt might be the best employee you ever had.
Yeah, good point.
It's the same in communication.
Very interesting. Very interesting. This is a subject that requires discussion between people to see that. When I first saw a graphic like this from the vice president about a year or two ago, I didn't get it. I said, "Why are we giving a crutch to other people?" But you defined it better than the vice president. I'm sorry. This makes a lot of sense to me. And as a matter of fact, I lead my life this way now. You know what I mean? It's unfair to give that short kid the same stool I would be using. It's just not fair. You give him a bigger stool. That person you want to help, you give some additional help to. You give extra branches to be able to upgrade. Beyond what you were offered when you learned those things. When I learned those things, I was on my own. Now I'm extending an olive branch beyond what was offered to me to help those kids. And it feels natural and it feels good. This feels good to me. That little purple guy with the extra 2 boxes, I do that now because I realize that young person could be an incredible engineer. Let's give him what is equal to the others and see if he can do it. That's beautiful.
That's believe that you gave them what they needed to be successful for you. Is everybody, you're giving everyone what they need. Because the truth of the matter, even if all 3 people were, just as this person with the gold pants and the blue shirt, there's an assumption that they're all 3 are the same, but they're still not the same. At least now you visibly know you have to accommodate. Right? For your purposes. What happens when you believe that you hired all 3 of the people you think that are the same, you think that they are, and then you learn slowly, and too late many times, that they're not the same. They needed different things in terms of motives and, abilities and capabilities and things of that nature. You're doing it anyway. It's something that we naturally have to do.
Yes. To help others get an equal footing, to have equal opportunity.
If you want to look at it like that, but if you're a business owner, to help your business.
Yes, because you want everyone to perceive yourself that way.
You want to be.
You want to be perceived.
No, you want to be successful. At least know that you want to be successful. Right? Because the assumption is that...
Well, clearly equity creates bigger success because all the guys can do their work. In equality, not all the guys can get their work done the same way.
No, that's not true. They probably
the purple
can
guy,
do the same job, but not be as successful.
Well, hold on. In this particular job, let's say you had 3 technicians. We've removed the 3rd technician from being able to perform his job. So we're losing money.
Right.
If I was an IT company, I would want scenario 2 of equity.
Right.
So all 3 engineers are profitable.
Right.
As opposed to holding the weak guy back, like, hey, you got to do it. What good does that do? He feels bad and you're losing money. You want equity in your company, so all engineers are mostly profitable.
Exactly.
Interesting. It's actually very, very logical.
Yeah, it really
very
is
logical.
Yeah.
I love it. Guys, thank you. We've gotten about an hour and 15 minutes.
It's been an hour?
This happens to me all the time. People are like, oh, let's do a 10-minute show, and then 2 hours later, we're ending it.
Oh, my God.
This is really interesting. I really appreciate that you're willing to talk to me about this. I would like to be educated further into what American culture has done. I love studying history. I love studying European history, American history. And what I'm learning from you is there's things I don't really understand fully. And that's beautiful because I want to learn. And I appreciate you coming here and talking to us about this in this way.
Yeah. No, it's a pleasure.
And I hope we'll have more of these and we'll talk more further.
Okay.
I have thousands of questions about this. In terms of what does all this mean to the future of hiring in America. And I think that's important.
A difference.
And I think we need a continuation of the show to talk about what this means in terms of hiring in America, potentially over a recession in the next year or 2.
And the
when multiple people come
intergenerational
here, and intergenerational.
and an intergenerational workplace that's creating a lot of trauma for both sides, you know?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And we could have a beautiful world if we all looked at this in an introspective way. So, God bless everybody. Thank you. Happy 2023. See you guys next week for the next show.
Yep. Bye bye. Thank you.